Hey guys, how are you doing? Please consider this post as extension and attachment to my original post about the mergers and acquisition. So I'm gonna to extend the my perspective on this from the pharmaceutical industry in different sector and in different disease areas. So again, some of these is offensive, like we've seen in the case. They wanted to grow, and the company is struggling with a pipeline, like what's happening in the Pfizer. Exactly, in the past 2 or 3 decades, they have blockbusters, which are about 5 or 6, and the company doesn't have a new molecule in the pipelines. They have, but much less. So what they do, they acquire a new company, like Pfizer acquired Wyeth in 2000. They started the negotiation in 2007, and it was done by 2009 with the acquirement of the Wyeth, including the nutrition, the Brevina, which was the breakthrough, the most important products for Wyeth, which is a very successful deal for Wyeth as diversifications into the nutrition area, and they succeeded on that. So this is one of the reasons of the growth and profitability. Although they are doing well with the current pipeline, but they are struggling with the future pipeline. Other example with that, the patency protection, and I received many questions on that. Just to cut it short, what's usually happened that the company invest about 5 to 10 years in the R&D of the products, if the product R&D was done within the multinational company itself, and then you might succeed and no. So what's really happening that you test that with external third-party R&D, and then you buy the molecule. Like what's happening with oncology, many oncology portfolios, the company itself didn't manufacture. They have their own third party, and they acquire the third party in the future, like in the case of the Pfizer as well. Another example, GSK, they have never been in immuno-oncology therapy area, which is a new breakthrough. It started from 2 years ago, and it changed the whole cancer. However, so Novartis was really worried about that. They started last year a deal, acquiring about 16 immuno-oncology products with a deal. So they bought another company with 16 million and go ahead. The third objective of the mergers and acquisition is market access strategies. So with that, for example, we have seen this in the case with many other cases. Whenever you wanted to enter a new market and you cannot, then you acquire a company that has experience. But if that company is really good across the globe, not only in that country, it's amazing. Like what's happening with GSK and Aspen. GSK bought stocks like 16% of the stocks of Aspen. Aspen is the global leader in one of the global leaders in generic competitions. So GSK is really protecting themselves from the Aspen. And why they are doing that? Again, back to the defensive strategy of launching second brand. Launching second brand can compete, and whenever you have your brand and launching your second brand for the same company with the generic company that you own, it's becoming amazing and becoming a barrier of entry for the generics. So that whenever the generics come, they cannot compete in some of the markets that's really regulated by the public sector. So some of the markets, like what's happening in UK and Saudi Arabia, it's controlled by the public sector. The government pay for the medications and the negotiations. So they do the NICE guidelines. They see which molecule is the most effective. And accordingly, if you have 1 or 2 or 3 products of the same class, of the same molecule, they do it in a price competition if they have the same cost, like Saudi Arabia. So the second brand come with a 20 to 30% less costly or lower in price, and the third brand with the 20 to 30% lower in price. And accordingly, from the P&L perspective, you make barrier of entry and you kill the price for the competition because you have your own second brand. So your brand and the second brand together, you can succeed and make barrier of entry for the other brands. So these are one of the strategies that's really popular in the industry. Other examples like what's happening with it, again, with GSK and Aspen. After a long time, they wanted to focus on one of the specific portfolio, like the respiratory and doing with the HIV sector. So what's happening, they diversify some of these products and give it to the merger company like Aspen, and they give it to Aspen. They manage that portfolio, or what this is what's called in the pharmaceutical industry as outsourcing. You outsource the product in the beginning, so they manage all of the product P&L and all of the aspects of the product, and then in the future you sell it to that counter partner. Like GSK sold the anesthesia portfolio completely to Aspen, so they are currently manage this, and they focus more into the respiratory and HIV disease areas. This is how they started. For example, I'm saying again for GSK, they started as leader of antibiotic, which is the most popular antibiotic in the world, Augmentin, and it was one of the top selling brands in the world. And in Saudi till now, it's #1 selling brands, but the company struggled with the future pipeline. And then 23, 30 years later, they launched the Seretide, which is Advair, the breakthrough for the asthma products, and the company, the product reached to the top, one of the top selling brands in the world, and they are struggling now with the future pipelines. So, and accordingly, the company decided to divest the primary care portfolio to give it less attention and focus more into the strategic portfolios that they have and diversify the other products that's really not growing, like the anesthesia and so on and so forth. So that's, guys, in a nutshell, the what's happening with the strategies of the mergers and acquisitions. So as offensive growth and profitability, or the patent protection, or market access strategy, or divestments. The fifth strategy that I forgot to say about it is a portfolio identity. So for example, and sometimes you do acquisition which might fail, but you do it for the image, the corporate image, and the brand associations, portfolio association. Like for example, GSK, Novartis Oncology, they put completely, they acquired the products of GSK Oncology, about having 3 or 5 pipelines. We completely deal. It's about $16 billion deal as far as I remember, and it was a big failure from Novartis' perspective in the future. GSK took about $16 billion, but Novartis took it for the brand image. The products were in the 3rd and 4th line, and they were struggling with their future growth. So the company continued to struggle. Novartis, they continued to struggle with these products, and actually it did not compensate the generic competition and loss of exclusivity of Novartis. Novartis, since 2 years ago, they were struggling with Xgate, that's out of the patency, and more in the Glevic. The Glevic, especially, the Xgate business is small, but the Glevic worldwide is one of the reasons that the company stocks were declining in the past 2 years. And with that, with the Glevics, Novartis tried to compensate this with the acquiring new portfolio in immuno-oncology and acquiring GSK Oncology, but GSK acquired portfolio which about 5 to 6 products. It did not compensate the problem, the lost patency with the Glevic, because the products were the 3rd and 4th line, and they were not the breakthrough and did not have a future pipelines in the same category. So normally, like if you have a product in asthma, you have 5 or 6 products in the pipeline for that product. So with the doctors and the society, they consider the company as the future. In that area. So that's the main reason behind the issue of the mergers and acquisitions. Sometimes it fails, but from the image and reputations in front of the doctors, they perceive you as the house of the oncology, like what GSK, the house of respiratory, like sometimes with the Sandoz, the house of the premium generic Sandoz, which is one of the sister companies for Novartis. It's one of the global top multinational company in generics and premium generics. So this kind of, sometimes you acquire some products that it will fail, but it will add in the brand associations and the corporate identity, improving the perceptions about the disease area where you have a lot of products in the pipeline. I wish this video I'll add some valuable comments and insights, so that can make clarity on the pharmaceutical industry from the mergers and acquisitions. And further discussions will be added in the posts. Thank you.